Hi everyone. Over the next few weeks I'm going to be setting you some challenges for your My Community projects, and today I'm going to kick off with a story called The Rainbow People. Okay, so in the beginning the world was very still and quiet, and the ground seemed to be covered with dull looking rocks and stones. But if you took a look closer you could see they weren't stones at all. They were actually tiny people who weren't moving at all. But one day a wind blew over the land, and it warmed the people up, and it filled them with life and love. They began to move, they began to look at each other, to touch each other, speak to each other, and to care about each other. And as they explored their world, they found coloured ribbons lying on the ground. They were excited and they ran around collecting them up. Some chose red, some chose blue, some chose green, and some chose yellow. They enjoyed tying the ribbons around each other and laughing at the bright colours. But suddenly another wind blew, and this time it made them shiver with cold. They looked at each other and they realised that they all looked different, and they stopped trusting each other. The reds gathered together and ran into a corner, the blues gathered together and ran into a corner, the greens gathered together and ran into a corner, and the yellows gathered together and ran into a corner. They forgot that they'd once been friends and had cared for each other. The other colours just seemed different and strange. They built walls to separate themselves and to keep the others out. But they found that the reds had got no food, but they'd got water. The blues, they'd got food, but they didn't have water. The greens had twigs to make fire, but they didn't have any shelter. But the yellows had shelter, but they had nothing to keep them warm. Suddenly, a stranger appeared and stood in the centre of the land. He looked at the people and the walls separating them all in amazement, and he said, "Come out, everybody. What are you so afraid of? Let's talk to each other." The people peeped out at him and slowly came out of their corners into the centre. The stranger said, "Now, just tell one another what you've got to give and what you need to be given." Well, the Reds said, "Well, we've got plenty of water to give, but we haven't got any food." The Blues said, "We've got plenty of food, but we need water." The Greens said, "We've got lots of wood for fire, but we've got no shelter." The Yellow said, "Well, we've got shelter, but we've got nothing to keep us warm." The stranger said, "Why don't you put together what you all have and share it, and then you can all have enough to eat and drink, enough to keep warm, and you'll all have shelter." They talked, and the feeling of love returned. They remembered that they had once been friends. They knocked down the walls and welcomed each other as old friends. When they realised that the colours had divided them, they wanted to throw them away. But instead, they knew that they would miss the richness of the bright colours. So instead, they mixed the colours to make a beautiful rainbow ribbon. So, in the story, the people realised that they were different, and instead of accepting their differences, they retreated and kept to their own colours. Now, that seemed a bit silly, because they needed help from the people that were a different colour to them, just like we do. We need help from people, and it doesn't matter what colour we are, or what race we are, or what religion we have. We are all people. So your job is to create your own beautiful rainbow ribbon. So you can have pictures of people, pictures of shelter, of things that you need. Absolutely fine what you do, as long as there's lots of bright colours, and if you can describe your flag to me, that would be even better. When you're done, can you put your stuff on Evidence for Learning for me so that I can have a look, and maybe we could make a display when we're back in school of all of your work. So I look forward to seeing what you create, and I will post some more tasks for you next week. Take care of yourselves and make sure you're staying safe. Goodbye.